Okay. Colonel John Hannibal Smith said from the A team, I love it when a plan comes together. And I'm telling you, I love it when a live stream ends abruptly for no reason. Sorry, guys. Welcome back. I have renamed this Let a Seller Sell You Feedback Friday as number two. And here's the reason. We were just talking about a really great question that we had come in from Edgar about an offer price on a listed property. Do we just base our offer on the listed price, or do we just base our offer on the number of days on market? Does it have any impact? And we were talking about, in some circumstances, let the seller sell you, and that is to say that you know you don't necessarily want to go head on head and be combative with a seller, and that doesn't really win friends, right? There's like a bull in a china shop approach where you can go and destroy everything and maybe burn a few bridges, which maybe ends up getting your way and you get the closing or you get the listing, close on that deal, make some money, but it doesn't really win friends. What I would recommend is what we were talking about before the live stream ended, that, for whatever reason, technology is great when it works, is same side of the table discussion where you're saying, hey, seller, I'd love to get what you're looking for and actually make that offer for what you believe that it's worth, as long as I understand that it's worth that too. So tell me, what is it about, this deal that I'm missing about your property? And, tell me, when everything else is $300,000 and you want 500,000. Of course, this is an extreme example, right? That's crazy, but it's happened before. But even if it's only 50K off, or even if it's 25K off, depending on the market, just ask them to educate you, right? That's especially when you're asking somebody to educate you and you say those words, you're coming from a place of humility. Now, whether or not they care, right? And they're like, I don't care about your humility. I don't care. I just want the number and it doesn't matter why I want it. I want it. So give it to me. Okay, bye. Right? There's no reasonableness in that discussion from the seller in that case. But if they are reasonable, then they're going to tell you all the reasons why you think. And it seems to me, from my experience, that as you open the door to even allow the seller to educate you, it then brings some walls down for them when you can, if you disagree with what they're saying, say, oh, I got it. Yeah, I was looking at it from this perspective. May I share it with you? Yeah, so based off of the other houses in the market, they're literally, exact square footage as yours. These ones were fixed up and sold, and they had a second story added to them, and or an auxiliary dwelling unit in the back where they're cash flowing Airbnb. And for whatever reason, as this fictitious example continues, all of them had the same thing. Originally, they started out the way that yours was, and if you look at the tax history and all this other stuff, they were valued at that $300,000 mark, which is actually the reason I offered that. So does that make sense to you? Does that influence like maybe what you might believe your property's worth now? Oh no, it doesn't. Okay, cool. Click, right? Not there's no other conversation. But if there is a change in, thought there, and you've just educated them after allowing them to educate you, then you can move forward with possibly coming to terms and being on the same side rather than being combative. Anything you gentlemen want to add to that?
Yeah, mostly the paradigm in which you're thinking about creating an offer and the reasoning behind asking the question. So the question is like, is the offer based on a list price, only based on list price? And to your point, it is a yes and no. It's kind of like, it's a little bit, but because it demonstrates the seller's I think I got something in my eye. Yeah, it demonstrates the seller's expectation of what the property's worth.
Yeah.
But we're coming from a volume based approach. So, I'll say this every single time somebody comments on Dan's video. Dan's process is great, but that truly is the shotgun approach. It is not the equilibrium between the shotgun and the sniper approach that we always talk about. My process that I've outlined on our YouTube as well is the perfect midpoint of only spending time on properties that it actually makes sense for you to spend time on, because the offer that you're going to make actually has a chance to be accepted because it's close enough to be reasonable for a seller to accept, and allows you to have some margin for you to make an assignment fee when you sell it to an end buyer. That's really the question that you have to ask yourself. Sure, you know what? I could get $1 million property and put a $700,000 offer in, and that would be a great deal, right? Well, do you think all the work, time, and energy that it takes to get that offer put out, the conversations I'm going to have with the seller, all the time that I spend on it, is that worth the time and effort to put the offer on, when we know without a doubt a $1 million property, somebody who's put it out there for $1 million is not going to take a $300,000 loss. They're not going to accept that type of offer. So that's really the paradigm you've got to think. Is this worth my time? And that's why, instead of creating offers first before you do your soft comping, my process has flipped that around so that I'm soft comping. I'm getting through more properties quicker and identifying properties that it actually makes sense to spend my time on, and then coming up with an offer amount based on that, only on the properties that it makes sense to.
Yeah, if you want to soldier up for a uphill battle for the long haul, cool. But just know, how much is your time worth? If the deal is not worth it, then I wouldn't even recommend pursuing it any further. But you can weed that out and determine that really quickly by having that same side of a table discussion with a seller. Really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. Cool. So we got a couple other ones here, and this is funny. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. So KX Lamar said, this isn't really a question. He said, guy said bloviate. Yep. Bloviate. So bloviate, guys, means to talk without end. So I said in that, PropWire versus Property Radar versus Privy versus Zillow live a while ago, that I'm not going to bloviate about something. And yes, that word is really funny. Bloviate. So anyway, onward and upward to Brandon. His question is, does Privy work good for off-market deals that are not listed with agents when trying to find comps, ARV, etc.? For my answer, the answer is yeah, absolutely. Like, to comp using Privy in a market that you might not have access to the MLS, this is a great way to get into virtually wholesaling properties or virtually investing in any capacity you want to, right? Privy has a lot of great relationships with local MLSs in cooperation with those, MLSs that will provide accurate information. And we don't say that lightly because we don't like promoting stuff we don't use and believe in. So, if you've used Privy at a high level before, I encourage you to respond also to this in cooperation with what we're saying, right? That is to Brandon specifically, and say, yeah, Brandon, I totally agree, because this is just our experience, but we also want Brandon to know your experience too. So that's what we've found, that it's a great tool to use to comp. It's also a great tool to use to research the markets themselves before you even get into them, to understand why the heck you're going to get into the market in the first place. Would you have anything in addition to say to that, Brad?
No, not too much, again, don't want to bloviate, but yeah, I'm of the school of thought that if I can use a 2-cent word instead of a 10-cent word, I'll use the 2-cent word every time. But no, I think the